I heard it start.
Yeah. I just clicked on the link you sent me.
Perfect. Well, we had you, not me, we had a time change since I've talked to you last.
Oh,
So,
that's right.
yeah.
You're right.
So Arizona doesn't have, so it drives me up a wall trying to, anytime I do an interview or like the 1 month a year that I do interviews with other people, like right now.
Arizona doesn't have time change because my girlfriend Tiffany lives there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. And um I don't know what we should or shouldn't say because she's technically on a stakeout, but she was going to do this for me because of you. You hooked it up, and uh we talked in emails, and she said, "Oh, this sounds so fun. Amber told me about it. I saw what you do on Twitter." This was in an email. "I saw what you do on Twitter. It sounds fun, but I'm on a stakeout and there's no way I can do it right now." And
Yeah, because
and
sometimes stuff comes over the radio, and you're right. You're right. Tiffany's my best friend. Tiffany Million is my bestie in real
well,
life. We're really good friends. So I talk to her every day.
I've
But anyway, she will definitely do it. She just has to also handle the time, the privacy of
uh,
the stuff because she does. It's real work, what she does, and it's
yeah.
very, very like highly sensitive, and they take it very seriously, like CIA,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So it's like she won't even talk to me about whatever she's working on, just in a very general sense. So anyway, let's get this one done.
Well, what's funny is I have a
Are you going to
couple.
do an intro or no? We're
I'm
just,
gonna do an intro, but
is my head cut off?
no,
Oh, okay.
you look great,
Okay. Okay.
and you're way closer
I
than
got
last time.
closer.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're
because
way
I
closer.
noticed that was not good at all. And not only that, I don't know if you noticed this, but in the other one, there was like a Sharon Stone basic instinct
For like a
where
second.
one across my legs, and you get like the full beef shot of my panties. And I was like, whoops! See, he didn't even see it. You didn't even see it.
Okay, so
Anne pointed that out to me and said, "Did you know that you like crossed your legs in that?" And I was like, "I didn't." Oh, and then I looked at it and I went, "Oh, gee." Always
um
having to compete. You know how bitches are.
yeah.
One of your people like mentioned that there was a Jane Bond before the ones I did,
Yep.
and that they had other actresses in them. I can't remember. Anyway, Stacey Donovan, and then there was another girl, a brunette girl. So this is our Jane Bond series.
Yes.
I did two series, and then it was my understanding that because I went on the road and started dancing, and I was out for 6, 8, 12 weeks at a time.
Hmm.
And I could only book so many movies in between. And I had certain companies that would be like, we're gonna, take that spot from you. So I had a very limited amount of time. I'd come home for like maybe 5 days in between three
Hmm.
months of just being on the road touring. That's how in demand our show was. And so I would just, the highest bidder. And I mean, there were some high bidders, but usually I'm not saying Caballero is awesome. And I think Caballero is the maker of this. There was Vidco put one out, but the other one was Caballero. Did you notice that? One of
um
them is put out by Vidco, the other one is Caballero. Those were completely different companies.
Correct. I know for a fact that Goldenrod was
Vidco.
Vidco because we talked about the gentleman, and this one is Caballero. So you're right.
Caballero. And they're
But
both directed by Jack Remy,
correct.
right?
And here's the weird thing is that we both mentioned the fourth one, the Henri Pachard one, where everyone was different. But the Stacy Donovan one is Jack Remy, and it's Robert Bullock playing controller. So there is the adult world, believe me, is so confusing. Like the rights, the ownership, people, it's so like even like you just said.
People just plagiarize. Me, there is no honor amongst thieves, and there's no honor amongst porn.
Yeah.
It's just the way that has always kind of rolled.
Okay.
Now we've evolved into a real industry that is recognized in the mainstream crossover world.
Hmm.
So it is taken a lot more seriously. I mean, I have my name trademarked now. You wouldn't have been able to do that 40 years ago. They wouldn't have allowed it. You also today have to have a certain amount of mainstream work to be able to be trademarked at all.
Yeah.
And I started out in mainstream movies. I did a movie with Tina Louise. I did a movie with Julie Newmar and Tina Louise. And I did several mainstream movies before I got into adult.
Hmm.
And then I did, my adult career just took off. And so I just kind of got sucked into the backdraft. People were like, oh, wow, you're awesome. It's kind of how it happens. And this whole thing occurs, and then in my era and I really feel like it was the greatest era because it was coming out of Marilyn and Seika and Vanessa Del Rio. So I still had them as mentors.
Hmm.
And let me tell you, you couldn't be mentored by a greater, more iconic, more serious about their business and their talent women as those three.
Right.
And Hypatia, and there was like a lot of them. But then it became a whole nother world, which was when it went from the Pussycat Theaters into home video. And
Yeah.
that handful of talent, myself, Ginger, Christy, Nina, Peter North, Tom Byron, there was, Buck Adams, my brother, there was a group of us, Herschel Savage. I mean, it was like a
Mhm.
dozen people who literally reigned, and we worked every
Yeah.
day if we wanted to. But that wasn't all I wanted to do. I wanted to do other things. And so when I went on the road and, when we would go to autograph shows and stuff like that, I always wanted my career to be like a real studio. When you worked for Paramount, you did a movie, then you went on a tour, a promotional tour for your
Hmm.
film. And I always loved the part of making films as an artist and being creative. But where I really got like my icing on the cake was meeting the fans and being at the shows, because it's the fans who
Hmm.
make you. It's the fans who give you longevity. And it's the fans who I have fans. It's so funny. I have such a long relationship with my fans. I've got what I call fan friends. And those are people who were fans that I met at shows and then became friends.
Yeah.
And, I've known them for years, years, years. My friend, so many of them, I could name it right off the top of my head. Gary the doorman. I met him at the AVNs. He was a dear friend of mine. He's still my dear friend on social media. He was there for me the night my brother died. Buck died, and I was crushed. And it was Gary that picked up the phone and said, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" And I was like, "No, I'm not." But so that was always what I loved, was meeting the fans. And then when I went on the road to feature dance in the clubs, something in me just took off from there. So I took Jane Bond, and I, got paid obviously for the movie and then the promotion. And then I went on the road, and then you get the fan response from the stage where you have the t-shirts and you have the slicks and you have the people that are following you. And Jane Bond was such a huge, iconic character for my career. When I would be in the market or I would be in Costco. I don't know if I could say that here. Be in Costco, and all of a sudden somebody would go, "It's Jane Bond!" And I was running like, because you don't want to be, people got their kids and their toddlers, and they would be like, "Mommy, who's Jane Bond?"
Ask your dad.
Who's Jane Bond? I don't have that toy. But but just that whole momentum, it's like, like people are with Star Trek and they're Trekkies and they just collect and everything. The whole series was amazing, had a lot of iconic characters, especially here in Octopussy. Christara Barrington was one of my favorite female colleagues to work with. And she was in Jane Bond as Octopussy. She was brilliant.
She is so good in this.
But this was before they got, when everybody was just everybody. And I talk about this often where we were all just co-performers. We didn't segregate with interracial or, now how they do it, BBC, and all this. We didn't do that then.
Yeah.
So I loved Christara Barrington, and then I always did amazing work with Portia Lynn.
Yeah.
And I forgot that Portia and I did so many really big movies together. Portia and I did almost as many co-features as co-stars as Ginger and I did. And I remember the day I met Portia Lynn. Ginger and I were in Chicago promoting one of the movies, and I was with Vidco, and Ginger had Vivid and Vidco, and we were together, and we were getting on an elevator, and in walks this long-legged girl, because Portia's got like daddy long legs.
Yeah.
Right? And Portia, if you see us standing next to each other, is about 6 inches taller than me.
Yeah.
So I'm like, wow. And in heels, she's really tall.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, wow. And she goes, I'm like, who are you? We obviously knew she was with the show. And she goes, I'm Portia Lynn. And Ginger goes, you can't be Portia Lynn. I'm Ginger Lynn. She's Amber Lynn. Lynn is taken. And I go, look at Ginger, because Ginger was just a little shit. But Ginger's a real little, Ginger can be really, really like mouthy and outright. She was all with her hand on her hip. You can't do that. She was like, yes, I can. This, this is who I am. So anyway, I just remember, and then so many great movies I did with her. But this movie particularly, I had forgotten. And she has a great monologue scene. What is she, the doctor or the scientist?
Yeah, she's the scientist. She invented.
And she does a great job, right? She does a great job as the scientist. And then I didn't realize that I came in and punched her right in the
face. I texted you that. You asked.
I saw it.
Yeah, I said. You asked about something about, because we were talking about the clean cut, and you asked me a question about the full-length adult cut. And I said, nope, I think you just punched Portia Lynn in the face.
Yeah, because I asked you if I had a scene with her,
And I said, no, you just punched her.
Yeah. And I asked you if we had a scene together, because I don't, I know we were in Pretty in Pink together, because I remember that there's a famous story where when I met Steven Tyler at the Mitchell Brothers Theater in San Francisco, the first time I ever met them, they came to my show and they threw a big party. The Mitchell Brothers did upstairs afterwards, and Steven Tyler and Sebastian Bach were there. Jamie Gillis was there. So many people were there. And it was for me because I had packed the place. Anyway, he was talking about a movie that I did that was his movie that he used um, to like write when he would write songs, because they
Uh,
use stuff that like, you know, gets them going so they can write.
uh-huh.
And he mentioned this movie. He said this movie called Pretty in Pink, and it was actually a movie that Portia Lynn and I are on the box cover together. And so that's in my book, and it's a movie that Portia and I. But I don't think we ever worked together in a scene.
Huh.
So if you ever come across one, let me know, because I think a lot of people think that that would be really an iconic duo.
Yeah.
Um, Portia was in the movie Miami Spice, and
Mhm.
I remember that they wanted specifically Sherry St. Clair, and I was like, "Yeah, but Portia Lynn would be awesome."
Uh-huh.
And they said that they wanted somebody that was like milfy at the time, but they
Mhm.
didn't use the word milfy
Well,
because we didn't have MILF then.
MILF in the 80s would have been 26.
But people did not
Use that
we
word.
didn't even have the word MILF. It wasn't
Mhm.
called MILF. So that's what I'm saying to you. Back
Mhm.
in the day, we didn't separate by anything. Everybody
Mhm.
was just a co-performer, and whatever the script called for, we would do our best to work together on it. But we didn't have interracial. We didn't have you're black, I'm white, you're Asian, I'm this. We just all worked together. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
It was like
Mhm.
I feel blessed in my own life that I just wasn't born with those veils. You know what
Mhm.
I mean? So it makes life a lot more beautiful to be seen in color for me, and to not have those kind of hangups, because that's just very ugly.
How weird is it that the last two interviews on All Celebrity Request March were two Lynn's, two Jack Remy's, and you're both in the 10 movie club?
Right? Yeah. Well, if you're going to do the lens, you can't do the lens without getting ginger. You know what I mean?
I have a whole list of stuff I didn't get to in the last interview, and one of the things I wanted to tell you is I was trying to make my fourth feature-length film. I make a movie about every 8 years, and we lost the budget. It's kind of a sad story. I'm going to try to get it back up and running this summer again. But in my script, I wrote the police force for it's called Side Boob Massacre. It was supposed to be 2025. Now hopefully to be a 2026. And just as a jokey, like a smartass, and I made a picture of it, which my old assistant said we can retrieve. I guess you can look at every story you've posted on Instagram. They're all backed up. So I can show you the little fake poster I made. Um, it said starring Ginger Lynn, Amber Lynn, Portia Lynn, and Mickey Lynn. I wanted you guys to be the police force, the detectives trying to solve the crime. I still think that
That
would
would
be.
be great. That would be great. Yeah, I just met Mickey Lynn. I didn't even really know about Mickey Lynn because
Mhm.
I was on the road when Mickey was in the mid to late 90s, I think, when she came in. And then I met her being out on the road doing the Exotica fan shows.
Uh,
And last year, I did a ton of fan shows and did really, really well. And just once again, the whole thing with the fans and meeting the fans and doing the autograph touring, that to me is like, I love doing that. I have such a good time. And it's kind of like the blessing that you get with the reward when you put in all the great work, is to really be able to meet with your fans and hear what they think. And I remember Bill Margold once said to me, Bill was my mentor, and I knew him since the day I set foot in the industry. He said, you give the public the opportunity to live in the moment vicariously through you, something that they could never, ever have in their ordinary lives. And that's a big responsibility. And
mhm.
don't take that lightly, whether you're shooting porn or you're shooting horror or you're shooting comedy or you're shooting drama or you're shooting The Godfather, whatever you're doing, you have to make it your best day. And that really kind of changed the way I looked at things, you know, and because a lot of people for years said it's just porn, you know, and who would have known we would be sitting here right now with all
I
the
know.
sex cut out going, this is a great movie, right? And you don't often get that opportunity. And now, with the way they do things and upload them to subscription sites,
Hmm.
it's like a whole other world. You say 3 sentences, and it's like, okay, let's fuck. Great, cut for lunch. Can you set up for the next shot? And I just look at that, and it feels so. You walk away sometimes feeling so empty from those. When
Hmm.
you used to walk away, just, I don't know, if there's something in making porn where you take it to the nth degree. I was on 52 Pickup, and I remember John Glover. I was in a scene with John Glover and Anne Margaret and Vanity, and John Glover was like, "So what's it like to really fuck it on film in a movie?" And I was like, it's just like what we're doing here. We were shooting 52 Pickup, and we had this big party scene. It was supposed to be an orgy, but because it was 52 Pickup and I showed my tits, but
Hmm.
it wasn't it wasn't written that way. John Frankenheimer hadn't written it that way. But we were like in this big conversation, and they were all huddled around me. All these big
Hmm.
actors, all these big stars.
Yeah.
They're like, so what's it really like to fuck on film? Tell us,
Hmm.
Amber, we want to know. I'm like, it's exactly what you do, except we cut in that moment once all the dialogue shot and the characters are all set up, and then we actually take it to the next level.
Hmm.
And I said, don't you guys ever, like, you know, actually, because there's a lot of rumors about several movies,
Uh-huh.
and I could name them, like Mr. and Mrs. Smith, supposedly they had real sex on it, and then Eyes Wide Shut, supposedly they had real sex on it. And
Hmm.
I said, you know, it's, you want the character to be as realistic as possible. What are you willing to do as an actor to bring that to the table? So there
Hmm.
you go.
I you know, you are on quite a few Vinegar Syndrome releases,
Yep.
which is a boutique label.
That's Joe. What's his name? No, who's the guy who does Vinegar Syndrome? Isn't his name Joe?
Oh, I don't know. I don't
Oh,
know.
okay.
I don't know any of their names.
He was a friend of Bill Margold's. Yes, I did
Yeah.
Vinegar Syndrome. Yeah.
Well, they are hardcore film preservation. But to be on Vinegar Syndrome, it has to be on film. 35 millimeter, 16 millimeter. Look at, I've got a Vinegar Syndrome. It's a film can.
Oh, that's right. I actually have a picture of all of us having lunch at Cantor's not too long before Bill Margold passed away.
Yeah.
Me, the guy from, his name is Joe. Joe, I can't remember his last name right now, but it was me, Bill Margold, Joe, and a couple other people that had tagged along, because
Hmm.
Bill Margold always loved to feed us when we would get together and work on projects.
Hmm.
You would have loved him. You never met Bill Margold.
No.
He would have loved you. He
I
would have loved you.
two of my favorite people of all time are Bill Margold and Jim Holiday because
Jim Holiday was
well,
amazing.
because they were know-it-all behind the scenes guys that
And
like
they took
wrote
it so seriously.
they wrote books, they hosted award shows, and then eventually, well, Bill Margold was always in the industry, but Jim Holiday was a total behind the scenes guy, had nothing to do with it. He was just he wrote books
I knew Jim
and
Holiday
and and
very
he
well.
and he
Yes.
hosted award shows. But then he's like, you know what? I'm gonna start making these. So
But
I
I'm going
love.
to tell you, if it wasn't for Jim Holiday and Bill Margold, love him or hate him, God rest his soul, so many of us would have never been known as legends, had
Mhm.
our credits and achievements preserved and honored the way we have. They took the adult entertainment industry out of the gutter,
Mhm.
and they
I
took us
did.
from being pariahs into being legends and gave us something that we could be proud of and something that we could work for. And
Mhm.
we don't have that today, and I miss it so much, so much. I want to restart up the Legends inductions because I really feel it's a time for a new era to be honored and to be inducted. And it's something that, you have to hand the torch off. So you have to be mentored by somebody who came in before. And I was inducted with Andre Pichard, Randy West. There was many people that I came in with. I think it was Rhonda Joe Petty,
Oh, nice.
myself, Randy West, and Andre Pichard, I think.
Mhm.
And I think there was somebody else. But anyway, and you put your hands and your feet in cement, and they used to do it out at Ray Pistol's bookstore in Las Vegas, and it was like a big deal. Sharon Mitchell, who had mentored me, was the one who inducted me, and she stood up for me and she spoke about me,
Mhm.
and it was a big deal. I mean, I cried, and it made a difference that our work has made a difference. And when you talk to the fans and they tell you, so many times I've had couples come to me and say, you saved my marriage,
Yeah.
or you helped me and my partner through a time in our marriage where we didn't think we were going to make it. It's really funny because you don't realize that's possible, but you do. And that really is what adult was created for to begin with. It was a aid for couples for sexuality.
Yeah.
And so it does have a redeeming purpose from the gate. But when most people thought that, well, they're just saying that so they can decriminalize adult, but it's not true. And I wish we did shoot more couples style projects and stuff like that. And also, that is what I'm working on right now. Is I've been working on it for the past year. Is I'm trying to um, come out and do a really big budget film again as like a last hurrah of the big budget films.
Yeah.
And it's a baby project that I've been working on for a while. But I think that the industry still has it in them. I think that the public is hungry for it, and I think it would be a great idea. Anyway, so I think that's 10 minutes. Are we ready to go?
Yeah. Did you get that alarm too, or that
No,
alert? I
I
mean,
was watching you. I'm just
yeah.
watching you.
I was like, what is that? 10 minutes.
I'm with you.
Well, you mentioned Randy West. He's in this movie with you. Not only is he in this movie with you, he's supposed to be your backup, but he's bumbling and gets taken advantage of by the women. So you have to be his backup. And you have to say
Right,
he's there to save you, but you save him.
right. And it's only a quick scene with him because it's only a quick dialogue scene, right?
Yep.
Always loved working with Randy West. Randy West is one of my favorite people. We were friends as well as colleagues. I was just floored when he passed away, heartbroken. He was in Miami Spice. He's in Jane Bond, Octopussy. He did an excellent job always. And he was just such a good looking, handsome man and such a stud to work with, and always, always, always did his best. It was a great fuck.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I could say that.
You got you got so mad at him in Miami Spice on a stakeout. I'm sure you saw me. I made the little short of it. You're pouting in the car and he's in there taking too long, and you're like, "I'll tell you one thing. I'm gonna before I arrest him, I'm gonna fuck him."
Right? Well,
Yeah.
I always probably thought that about Randy West because he was just such a hot, handsome guy.
Yeah.
He had such a good, great body and a good build. And we did when we did that underwater scene.
Hmm.
And that's a different movie. We did do that underwater scene. That scene took 9 hours to shoot.
Jeez.
And we were in that pool for 9 hours, getting out of the pool, coming back to the pool. It took a very long time because you can only stay underwater for so long and
Mhm.
do things. And then you have to come up for air. So, and both of us were like, ah, you
Hey,
know,
I love Miami Spice. I don't know if you knew this or not, but it was only remastered overseas, like a Vinegar Syndrome type deal. And so it was only remastered overseas. And so I took the remastered footage, then took the American version VHS and took all your dialogue from the crappy VHS and I married it to the foreign film. So Barefoot Squeaky Clean Adult Film of Miami Spice is the first time you've been able to see Miami Spice remastered in English.
wow. I didn't know that. That's awesome. And it
Yeah,
worked to
yeah.
like, to,
If
to,
watch Miami Spice, and I talk about it in the intro. I also I
okay.
I also
All
do some
right.
I also do some funny jokery where I talk about that Amber Lynn is so hot that the film gets a PG because all these squeaky clean adult films are either G or PG. And so that all of Amber Lynn movies are an instant PG because you're just too hot on the screen. And then I did like some joking thing, like I did a bubble out of your head, like Jason, like you were yelling at me.
Oh, because parental guidance,
Yeah,
right? They have to
yeah.
be, and that's what is that, PG-17, right?
Um, I don't, it's just, well, there can't be any swears, there can't be smoking, there can't be drinking, there can't even allude to sexuality. So a lot of these squeaky clean adult films, if there's no swearing and I take about even the innuendo, there can't be innuendo. So if I take all that stuff out and make it a G-rated film, but everyone you're in, you just like ooze sexuality. And I've said this not just in Miami Spice. You've been in this is your 11th movie. I've joked about it before that if it's Amberlynn, it automatically is PG because you're just you're like too sexy.
Well, that is the job. So you
Yeah.
do want to bring
So,
it,
so
right? That is the job, and I do want to make sure I deliver in that way too. I know that when I started crossing back into mainstream and doing a lot of mainstream work, I have been faced with that with castings where they've said, when Amber enters the scene, she just kind of
Mhm,
takes over the scene, and it
mhm,
doesn't matter what role she's playing. It's Amber Lynn. It just came into the
mhm,
room, and I had to really work on that for my mainstream acting because they don't want Amber Lynn to take over the scene. They want you to play into the character and
mhm.
embody the character and become the character. So that was a challenge for me, actually, but and to not on instantly become like,
Yeah.
start doing that kind of stuff. But hey, it never hurt anybody. A little wiggle, a little jiggle, a little.
Um, so you are in, let me see this real quick. Trashy Lady. Corporate Assets, Trashy Lady, and Amber Aroused on Vinegar Syndrome. But you are also in fourth Vinegar Syndrome, Evils of the Night,
Yes,
which is one of my favorite movies. And I had so many fans yell at me for not bringing this up. And we're down to 4 minutes. I have heard that you don't like something, and I am going to step up and say, I happen to love this.
what is it?
Things.
Things.
It's the weirdest Canadian movie, and you are so amazing in it. I love it. I don't know if you like it or don't like it. I don't mean to put words in your mouth, but it's on a
Barry
lot.
J. Gillis.
It's on a
Yeah,
lot of.
I
It's
lived
on.
in Canada
Is that how you got?
for
Is that how
several
you got in?
years. I lived in Canada. I was going to marry a Canadian, Portuguese, but Canadian. And I was a feature. That's where I got my start feature dancing. And when I went to Toronto to feature for the first time, Barry J. Gillis came to my show and he said, I'm a filmmaker and I want to put you in it. And he did. Um, and he did. And the thing about it is that they kept saying to me, "Don't worry about it. You'll get your dialogue when you get to the set." And I was like, "God, this is worse than porno. They're gonna get your dialogue when you
Yeah.
get to the set." Even in porn, they would give you
Yeah.
your scene, your sides up front, so you'd know your character. And I kept thinking, what are we gonna do? And um, I was playing a newscaster, and they said, "We're just going to put it on not even a teleprompter. They just held it up behind the
Yeah.
camera
You
and
can
said, read this." So it was difficult. They said, "Well, we want you to look like a newscaster." And that's
Mhm.
basically what they do on the news is they just read it from a card behind the camera or a teleprompter.
Mhm.
Anyway, this was low budget. And I liked it. People loved it, just
Oh,
rip me apart.
I don't know where it is, but I used to have a Things t-shirt. I love sleazy low budget horror. It's a story-driven adult films is my third or fourth favorite genre, and sleazy low budget horror, I'm talking really low budget, like Things, is my either number one or number two favorite.
Oh, that's great.
So you are in a lot. Do you think that it's going to be hokey that you have two spots on All Celebrity Request March? If you do, I can just release this later, or we can say, "Hey, Jason had a cancellation. Someone was treated him like shit, and Amber Lynn stepped in and she filled up
Oh, I
two
love
spots."
it. Let's do it. Let's do
Okay,
a double winner.
okay. So I'm gonna make this.
We'll be the DP.
I'm gonna.
The double pop all celebrity march.
Okay, so I'm gonna make
What
this.
would all celebrity march be without a double pop?
Yeah, and I'm going to make this go last, and I'm going to tell the audience what I just said to you. I'm going to say, "Hey, I had a cancellation, and one very special lady stepped in and stepped up and made it right."
All right, there you go. Suit
So,
up and show up.
okay. So thank you so much. And anytime you want me to do you have a golden ticket for any movie you ever want done in Squeaky Clean Adult Films or any short you want made for Instagram. I will be like your personal editor. Anything you
I
want.
would love it. I would
Anything
love
you
it. Thank you so much. And once again, to all the fans out there, keep watching my movies. You have made me everything I am today, and I adore you. And I love performing for you. Enjoy.
Thank you so much. Okay, we're gonna get cut off any
Okay, did we
second now.
talk enough about the Jane Bond, though?
Kind of not, but it's
But we're
okay.
okay with that?
Yeah.